What if a person's life wasn't just a story, but was actually a math problem? Today, we're diving into a pretty wild theory that tries to map out human destiny using, of all things, pure geometry. And we're going to apply it to one of the most famous and most tragic lives of the modern era.
So here's the big provocative question. What if the highest highs and the lowest lows in your life were kind of inevitable? The result of a structure you were born with? We're going to put that idea to the test by using this framework to analyze the life of Michael Jackson.
Okay, the tool we're using is called the geometric structure driving theory. Now hang with me here because it sounds complicated, but the idea is pretty straightforward. It sees a person as a system of four main energies or vectors. First, you've got wisdom. That's your creativity, your talent, what you put out into the world. Then there's wealth, which is your ability to get resources and make things happen. Third is authority. Think of this as rules, limitations, and even the limits of your own body. And last, you've got impression, which is your public image, your fame. The theory says if you map the angles and forces between these four things, you can actually see a life's path unfold.
To really get this, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. The theory says that every single person is born with their own unique, innate structure. It's like the foundational blueprint of your potential and, maybe most importantly, your built-in conflicts. And here it is. This is the calculated innate structure for Michael Jackson right at birth. You can think of this as his factory settings. Now, if you look at the chart, find the row for potential energy. These numbers show the raw power in each of those four areas we just talked about, and one number just jumps right off the page. His wisdom axis is dominant by a mile, sitting at 2.98. His creative genius? That was his default setting. So right away, this reveals a massive conflict that was literally hardwired into his system from day one. On one hand, you have his dominant force, wisdom. That's his unbelievable creativity, his obsessive drive to practice and perform. But it's set up in direct opposition to his authority axis, which, remember, stands for rules, structures, and for him, most critically, the physical limits of his own body. And this number, this is the smoking gun. The angle between his creative drive and his physical limits was 178.9 degrees from birth. Now in this system, anything over 150 degrees is called destruction mode. He was born at nearly 180 degrees, a perfect head-on opposition. This means his genius was, from the very start, on a geometric collision course with his own physical body.
But of course, a structure isn't set in stone. It reacts to the world around it, to time, to big events. So let's jump forward to 1979 with the release of his legendary album Off the Wall. This, right here, was the moment his structure truly woke up.
So look at these side by side. On the left, you've got his birth structure. On the right, this is the structure in August of '79. The environment, his career, it completely changed the game. Just look at the values for activity level. They've lit up. Pathways that were totally dormant, locked at zero, are now switched on and humming with energy. And this chart shows you the result of all that activity. In 1979, the environment just supercharged his wisdom axis, his creative genius, boosting its achievement score to over 102. Now, according to this theory, any score over 100 is considered top tier. This was the geometric proof that he had broken through into a whole new level of superstardom.
So the really big deal here is how he did it. For the very first time in his life, the pathway from wisdom to wealth was fully open and active. All that incredible talent now had a direct channel to create massive commercial success. His genius wasn't just an idea anymore. It was a powerful, money-making machine. And of course, that success launched him into the stratosphere with Thriller. But as the power in his structure got more and more intense, so did that ticking time bomb of a conflict we saw at the beginning. Let's go to 1984. A year that marks his absolute peak and, geometrically speaking, the point of no return. Okay, this slide shows the structural data for one very specific, very tragic day. January 27th, 1984. This was the day of the accident during the Pepsi commercial shoot, where his hair and scalp were so badly burned. And just looking at these numbers, you can see a system that is screaming towards a catastrophic failure. And just look at that angle. That built-in conflict between his creativity and his physical body, it has now reached 179.99 degrees. I mean, that is a near-perfect opposition. Geometrically, you cannot get any more destructive than that. This is the ultimate structural breaking point. And here's why that angle was so devastating. This gets into a super important dynamic of the theory, this constant battle between achievement value and risk value. Think of it this way.
On his authority axis, the one representing his physical body, the risk value had shot up to a massive 133.64, while his body's ability to cope, its achievement value, was only at 42.78. The danger to his physical self just completely overwhelmed his body's ability to handle.
So the theory's conclusion is pretty stark. At that exact moment, his creative output, his wisdom score was an unbelievable 120.45. That massive creative force literally, geometrically just tore apart the already strained axis of his physical body. The structure didn't just bend, it snapped.
That incident in 1984 wasn't just a horrible accident. It set off a long-term structural failure. The final chapter, in this theory, wasn't some random event, but the logical, geometric end of that initial break. So let's go to his final days in 2009. And this is the structural snapshot from June 25, 2009. You can just see a system under incredible strain everywhere you look. There are multiple conflicts happening now, but there's one in particular that really shows the crushing pressure he was under.
The theory has a name for this: a wealth black hole. By 2009, the relationship between his impression axis, his fame, his public image, and his wealth axis was at a destructive angle of over 171 degrees. What does that mean? It means the unbelievable cost of just maintaining his status was actively destroying his financial resources. It was a black hole.
And here we go. This was the final trigger. On that day, the risk value on his wealth axis finally climbed higher than its achievement value. And remember the rule: whenever risk becomes greater than achievement on any axis, that part of the system becomes unsustainable. It fails. His entire financial structure buckled, which led to a total system collapse.
So, wow. Okay, let's step back from this whole geometric journey. What are the big takeaways from this theory? What are the core rules that this one tragic life seems to illustrate so powerfully?
Well, it seems to boil down to three main rules. First, whatever your dominant force is, it sets your direction in life, and it's incredibly difficult to steer against it. Second, some parts of your life can get totally stuck, locked at zero, and you need some major outside force to shake them loose. And finally, maybe the most important rule of all: you can never, ever outrun your risk. If the danger is consistently higher than your ability to achieve, a crash is, well, inevitable.
So, the theory actually gives you a clear four-step process for this. First, you figure out what's active in a person's life. Then, you find their biggest driving force. From there, you locate the most intense point of conflict, and that will help you pinpoint the structure's weakest link, its most likely point of failure.
Which really just leaves us with one final, pretty mind-bending question. Whether you buy this whole model or not, it does force you to think in a different way, to see a life not just as a bunch of random choices, but as a dynamic structure of forces and conflicts and potential. So, if your life were a geometric proof, what problem would it be trying to solve?